Another option for your Art to Remember project is this galaxy mountain project. First thing you'll need is your paper and your pencil, and we're going to draw out our mountains first. I'm going to make an upside down V shape, but instead of making my lines nice and straight, I'm going to make them a little bumpy and rocky. For my next mountain, I'm going to scoot up the line just a little bit and make my next upside down V. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to scoot up that V to create my last mountain. Next, I'm going to create the side of the mountain by starting at the top point and coming down to where my other line ends. So I'm doing that to all of my mountains, and I'm still using those rocky, bumpy lines. Then I'm going to create some small bumps on my mountain, just like little worms. Then I'm going to curve down from one side of the paper to the other, but don't go all the way to the edge, leave a little space. I'm going to repeat this doing the other side, and these will be the hills in front of my mountains. I will repeat that till I reach the bottom of the paper. Once I'm all done, I'm going to take a regular Sharpie marker, and I'm going to outline over all of my lines. I'm being very careful that I don't go off of my lines so I have nice clean marks. Then I'm going to take a thin Sharpie or a micron pen, and I'm going to do some hatching. These are small lines, and they're diagonal lines in my project that create value. I'll zoom in so you can see those a little bit better. And I just did that on the sides of my mountain, underneath my little worms on my mountain for the rocky areas, and then I also will add some lines on the slopes of my hills. Now we are ready for paint. First I'm going to wet my brush, and then I'm going to go in with some blue. Some good colors for your galaxy are blue, purple, and also black. You can also mix the purple and red to make a magenta color. First thing I will do is I'm going to take my blue, and I'm going to make almost a river kind of flowing around, and this is going to be like my nebula clouds in my galaxy design. So I'm just making this river a little bit thicker and adding some more blue, and I want this to be as even as possible. I don't want some areas to be darker than the other, so I'm going through and evening them out, and I'm being very careful that I don't go on top of my mountain. I have a nice river kind of flowing from the top to my mountain. And then I'm going to go into my purple, and I'm going to do the same thing with the purple. And for the other side, I'm going to do purple as well. And I decided to add a little bit of red to make that magenta color I was talking about. So I'm just mixing those colors while the paint is still wet to make my magenta. Now I'm ready to mix up some new colors, so I'm going to clean off my tray so it is ready for mixing up my new colors. And it's very easy to clean. You just need a wipe or a wet paper towel and it'll come right off. First I'm going to add a little water to help with mixing my colors. Then I'm going to add some purple and then a little bit of black. And this is going to make my dark purple to help me blend my purple into my black galaxy nebula cloud. So I'm putting this dark purple right where the purple is touching the white. And I'm being very careful that I don't go on top of my mountains. I'm going to rinse my brush, and with a wet brush, I'm going to blend where those two areas touch. And I kind of topped off a little bit of the water. You don't want your brush too wet. So I'm just going back and forth, blending where the purple and the dark purple meet. And then I'm going to go back into my dark purple and do the same thing on the other side where it's touching the white. Rinsing off my brush, tapping off my brush, and then blending into the purple. Once that is all blended, I'm going to move to my blue, and I'm going to do the same process, mixing up a dark blue, and then going where the blue touches the white, putting down my dark blue there, rinsing off my brush, and then blending that into the blue. And I already have my dark purple, so I'm just going to add a little red to make it a dark magenta color. and do that with the magenta side. Now, any areas that are white, I'm going to put down black. And this is going to be the area around my nebula clouds that are just like black outer space. It's always so satisfying to paint things black. Once I've placed the black down, I'm going to dip back into my dark blue and blend the dark blue and the black together. And if I need to, I can dip back into my blue and blend where those touch. And then if I need to blend more, I can just use my wet brush like I did with blending before. I'm doing the same thing on the purple side, dipping into my dark purple, blending with a wet brush, or I can blend with my purple. And just keep blending until it's satisfied. Don't blend too much that your paper starts to rip. If it seems like your paper is getting too wet and fragile, just let it dry and we can come back to it later. So I'm doing the same thing on the other side, painting it black in the white spaces, being careful that I don't go on top of my mountains, and filling in all that white space with black. When that is done, I will dip into my dark magenta purple, blend in from the dark purple to the black. And if I need to, I can blend with a wet brush. And I'll do the same side with the dark blue. So it's very easy to blend. You just go from dark to light. I do the black, then I do the dark blue, and then if I need to, I can dip into the blue or dip into the water. And the last step, I will help you mix up the right consistency of white paint. But you'll use white acrylic paint with a little bit of water, and then you'll also use a toothbrush. You'll dip the toothbrush into the paint. I did a couple practice splatters on just a piece of scrap paper, so in case there's any big drips, I get those out of the way. And then I'll splatter in my stars. You could also consider this snow if it's snowy mountains, but this will give it that galaxy look when you add those stars. And that is it. Once you have all your stars down, we'll take it to the drying rack and let's make some awesome art.